Thank you all for showing up today, and you guys out on Zoom land as well. I want to start out with a little prayer of gratitude to the great oneness diversified, a.k.a. God, who made all the pantheists, monotheists, and atheists. May we remember something of that, of our source, of which we perhaps have never left. And remember that we are all connected through that source. Today's talk, Show Up and Shine. I would like to say, show up and shine with this little light of mine, because the notion of show up and shine starts as an inside job. I show up to myself, my true self, and pay attention to what's really going on inside with a light of love, acceptance, forgiveness, appreciation, patience, and the sternness of a teacher who won't let any you-know-what go by. Because in the classroom, inside, in that little temple that is in our heart, or our metaphorical heart, or our spirit, is a whole bunch of different voices. And from the beginning, five weeks ago, when I agreed to do this talk, and the title came up, it was a keeper, and as soon as I thought of this title, I thought of our friend Malcolm, who came today, because every time I saw Malcolm at an event, and I thanked him for being there, the words that came out of his mouth were, I show up, right? And showing up is big. It's so big. I mean, it's not just, it's a surface thing. I show up here, I'm here. You guys are showing up here, but how you show up here is really important. If you show up and grumble, or you show up and you create chaos, well, that doesn't always help. Maybe in the long run it does, we don't know. But if you show up with the light that you have, that you carry, that light that is given to you and tended by you, that light of consciousness, conscious awareness, of spirit, of fire, of essence, that is contagious. That light is contagious. And you may, sometimes I certainly do, sometimes feel guilty because I'm jovial and jocular and laughing at peace, love, and understanding. And I feel guilty, and then I realize that if I've truly lifted myself up, it affects everything. Because it's connected through that unseen world. It's connected through that subtle world, which is the source from which we come from. At the very least, it's connected through that, and it lifts everyone up, because we are all connected to that. But it also seems to make a difference out in the world. One time for several years I was practicing Ho'oponopono, which basically is you take responsibility for everything you see. And I'm at work and I'm soldering something, and I notice I'm suddenly irritated. And now I'm fighting with what I'm doing, which normally I loved and was a flow. But now I'm fighting with it, and then I hear my boss and his wife arguing out in the front room. And I totally took responsibility for their arguing, for my mental state, and I said to the Creator, I said, please forgive me for bringing this nightmare into your beautiful dream. That's how I practiced Ho'oponopono. And they stopped arguing. And my mood changed. And it was like, how can I be so narcissistic to think that I did something and it changed them, right? Until it started to dawn on me that the light, that my vibration raised, and it reminded them of their higher vibration. I didn't do anything to them except shine a light, and they saw the light, and they took it in themselves. You can give the light to some. You can be a light. You can be kind. You can be compassionate, and it's still up to the other person what they're going to do with it. In fact, to the point where I realize I have all kinds of friends in the world who hate me. But I still love them, right? They're still my friends because that's my choice. I can choose who I want to be my friend, and I'll be their friend. And if they change their mind, and that's great. But if they don't, I can still be their friend. Because then the world is a more friendly place for me because I'm not putting all that hate out there. Wow. Wow, So showing up is so powerful. Even if I don't have the light in me, every morning I have to show up for my day. And getting ready for this talk, I told Duluth that I was going to wing it. I was not going to use notes, right? And then as it got down to the wire, I was panicking. So yesterday, a good chunk of the day, I'm writing the talk out. I got up at 4:30 this morning, and I was still writing the talk. I was doing it again. I was like, am I going to get it by doing this? I would have a page of, well, that's great, but then I looked at the page I wrote well, that's great. And then I remember that when I'm reading a talk to you guys, I'm just not present as much, right? It's not a give and take as much, and what you guys give back is so meaningful. You're participating. Like, what I'm saying to you is nothing new. You all know this, right? I'm a mouthpiece this is coming out of, and as Delph will tell you, I'm an abundant mouthpiece. So the thing is, I did all that after I went to bed last night, and I was working really hard out in the morning, and then there was all this stuff we had to attend to in the afternoon. And then I let myself procrastinate and play with my new phone last night, and I got all frustrated and bent out of shape when I went to bed. And I'm listening to this beautiful Delta relaxation music, and I'm fussing and fuming. And the thing I planted in my head before I went to sleep was, I'm going to sleep through the night, and I'll wake up rested. Well, what happened was, I had a serial dream the whole night that I was at a party with my neighbors, and it was kind of a healing dream. They were all friendly to me. It was really nice, but we were just drunk all night. And at the end of the dream, I'm wearing this white robe and this stuff that looks like a Jedi belt, and I got to take it all off. I'm thinking, okay, I got to go home now. So I take this all off outside, and as soon as I take it off, I'm drunk. I can't walk. And I got to get home, and then I wake up just before my alarm goes off with a headache. So I get up and I start my day, and it's like the thing that's been happening is most mornings I wake up in despair. I get up early and I meditate or I chant, and if I do it long enough, my whole state changes. It changes. And, like I come in to see Duluth and she goes, how are you this morning? And sometimes it's like, oh, now the other day I was like this, oh, you're Zen today. Because that thing, you do that thing. You show up and you take responsibility and you do something, and it's in your body. It's like, I can get on board with this whole notion that the body's an illusion, right? I mean, I'm a Course in Miracles student, and we really banter that about. But the thing is, I signed up for the illusion. I'm on the ride, and this is my carnival ride, and I'm not gonna try to escape it by saying it's not real. I'm gonna play the game that I signed up for, and that means not being in fantasy daydreams in my head, or just because, or spend all my time reading. I'm also going to meditate. I'm also going to exercise. I'm also going to do emotional work. And I'm going to discover, and what I've discovered, one of the most amazing things about doing emotional work is I've discovered, and I read this the other day, and it just made so much sense. So I discovered this, but when I read it, it just clarified the whole thing, that the ego, the definition of the ego is your emotional constant. Whatever your emotional tone is that you are walking around the world with, that's pretty much how your personality is identified. That's how you relate to the world, whatever your emotional, your thoughts. Like I can think I'm going to change my thoughts, right? It's a lot harder than to change my emotions with my thoughts than it is to change my emotions by moving, by being in contact with my breathing. Oh my goodness, just deep belly breathing and calming down is so amazingly powerful. Just tuning into my body, which the Course in Miracles tells us is a communication device, right? It's communicating, whether I'm at peace or in turbulence. And it's a wonderful help. It's a wonderful aid. And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't want to say that I can accept the fact that this is an illusion, because when I examine the body, it's mostly nothing. It's all these particles. And the particles they're particles of light all dancing around just like we are, right? I mean, the great oneness diversified, right? What an image. And out of it pops up all these lights everywhere. Uncounted, maybe uncountable lights, right? And they're all vibrating, just like my body is all made up of all these little vibrating things. And when I sink into it, it's mostly nothing. It's mostly space with all these lights. Like the meditation is, I'm an atom. I'm standing on an atom. Now I'm standing on a proton. Now I'm standing on a quark, and I jump off. And between all the other quarks, it's pretty scary. It's mostly black. It's a lot of space. But the space is filled with peace. It's just so full of peace. Peace is what I want to leave everyone with. Bless you all. So, that's great. I'm so glad you said that. Because one of the things that is really helpful is the fact that I have been tussling with this roof for 2 years, and it makes me, I have to meet that, and I have to get up there, and I have been having stress-induced balance issues, and I'm on a roof, and I have to be so conscious, and I'm noticing that when I'm up there and I'm working, that my little itty-bitty shitty committee is not. It's quiet. It's quieter. In spite of the fact that I still have had some serious meltdowns and some, like I'm not perfect up there. But what's happening is the process of doing work and sweat and meeting obligations is transformative. But part of the thing that's essential, I think, to that is that you ask for help from God or Spirit or whatever you're. This great oneness, diversified, is available. It's waiting for a personal relationship. It comes to us. Some of us, it's very secret. That name of God that we have, it's like, and some of it we all use the same name, but we have the capacity to have a personal relationship. Some call it the Holy Spirit, but it is a real helper. And so when I'm up there, I'm meeting this obligation, I'm doing work, I'm being responsible in the world, in the dream, for everything. Everything. That is so great. It reminds me to say that if you're grumpy, that doesn't mean don't show up. It means bring your grump with you, but don't have your grump bring you. In other words, you own your grump, it doesn't own you. Which, you've said, you've a couple of times in groups, I've heard you say this, something like this, that, you have the power to change. You have that power. And I'm totally down with that, man. Snap.